And we're back on DA Weekly. Welcome. I'm here with Madeline Kronenberg, School Board President, and also Becky Ross, consultant for the district. Ms. Kronenberg, Ms. Ross, can you talk a little bit about college and career readiness and what it means to each of you and how it relates to your role in the district?
Absolutely, Mr. Gill. First of all, I'm not the school board president anymore. I wouldn't want Mr. Ramsey to come in and say that I had misrepresented. I am a school board member. Mr. Ramsey is the president this year. It rotates around. But I certainly am somebody who's really committed to linked learning. And what linked learning is having classes connected to business sectors, to industry sectors, to pathways where you actually are being trained to go to work in an area of industry. So it could be medicine, it could be the media, it could be the arts, it could be health, many different choices. And it's been really a powerful tool for kids to learn because people see why they're learning. And they're not learning something in an abstract area that doesn't seem to make sense or connect to their life.
Becky?
I come from industry and I'm really excited to be a consultant for the district because what I get to do is go out and find all the partners that then link the students to the outside world so that they get an opportunity to not only learn things in the classroom, but there's partners then that get them job shadow opportunities, internship opportunities, interesting speakers that can come into the classroom and again make school come alive. So when you're learning math, when you're learning science, it's not just the same old that you've had since kindergarten. You get an opportunity to apply it to things that will make it easier for you to get a job, or while you're in college to have a job that makes you more money so that it's easier to get through college.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I mean, as we go through the transition to Common Core, career technical education for me as a career technical education teacher, it's always been like Common Core automatic. There isn't much of a transition for me as a CTE teacher because it's natural. But in some of the other subjects, I mean, how do you think teachers get ready for college and career readiness in some of those more core subjects?
So it's an interesting point. And one of the reasons that Common Core has come in is to help students become able to do critical thinking. Right? And I was a CTE teacher too. I've worked for 30 years as a CTE teacher. That's how come I'm the linked learning person. And what I know is that when you go to work, they pay you to think. You have to figure stuff out and you have to think. And in some other areas in education, it really was more about memorizing for multiple choice tests. And work is not about memorizing for multiple choice tests. If they already knew the answers, they wouldn't need you to do the work. Right? So that's not how it works. That's not how it goes. You have to be able to figure things out, and you have to be able to produce something. And that's what Common Core is bringing to all of our classrooms. Students are now being asked to read something, and not just to memorize it or memorize an answer from it, but to understand what they read and understand more deeply how they could apply it to something else. And that's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing.
I was in hospitality for 20 years, and I was with Marriott. And when I was with Marriott, we hired a lot of people. I probably myself have hired 150 people, from managers to hourly associates, promoted supervisors. And again, the critical thinking piece is huge because I can still name the presidents of the United States from the first one to the last one in order from memorization. But that memorization of those presidents doesn't really help me get a job. Versus the critical thinking, like Madeline said, where you can read something and then you can apply it. In hospitality, people were problem solving all the time. They could memorize how to check somebody in and how to check somebody out, but could we teach them to memorize when a guest actually had an issue, how to resolve it for them, how to really think through it, how to bring other people in when they needed it, so that then they, again, could solve the person's problem without calling for a manager, without calling for a supervisor. So those actually were skills that we tested for even before you could get the job, was could you take the knowledge you have and apply it versus just regurgitating something you've heard.
I think one of the important things for me is just being able to give students that experience, to give them real world experience in the classroom, to have them have to deal with the pressures that come with having a job, having to deal with deadlines, having to deal with irate customers, having to deal with sometimes things don't go right. How do we adapt on the fly? How do we call an audible, if you will? You know, and that's key to being able to be adaptable in the real world. Myself, teaching is not my first career. My first career was I was a mechanic, and a fairly decent one. However, things happen, stuff like that, and you know, I was forced to call an audible, and it turned out to be a touchdown. But you know, I think I'm about done with the football analogies.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of get my point. I think that having that real world experience, having that experience that's not related to, oh, you know, it's just school, I just got to get through it, I think gives kids a you know, real world look at, hey, this is what it's going to be like when I go to work.
That's right. Otherwise, it's going to be boring. And who wants to learn when you're bored?
Right.
So bringing life to it is really a huge part of it. And there's tons of partners in all industries that want to get involved, because this is the future. Every student that's participating in linked learning are the future employees. So to make those connections now helps them not just get the job at Taco Bell, not just get the job at McDonald's. It helps them be able to step into higher paying jobs. It helps them be able to get ready for college. And again, some people will go straight into careers, and it gives them an opportunity to hit some of those industry certifications, so they're more prepared than others, because there's lots of people applying for jobs. And why shouldn't the students in West County have better opportunities than people all over the Bay?
So what's next? I mean, where do we go from here? I know that we're doing a lot with linked learning, but you know, if you could draw your educational utopia for West Country Costa Unified, what would that look like?
So I think we need to have a variety of options. I think we've got students who've got lots of different needs, and families that have many different needs. So for some, we have schools right now that are, or at least one school that's wall-to-wall academies. And in that community, it's a total fit where everyone really does appreciate the support of an academy. We have other communities where they look at that and they don't see that as giving their kids the potential that they want for them as far as choices go. So for me, I'm looking at ways to say to the state, what we want to do is support lots of different options as far as our training goes, so that students are ready to go into liberal arts environments, but they're also ready to go straight up into certification programs, or leaving the certification program and doing something totally outside. I had a city council person talk to me about wanting to have a pathway to a barber college. Right? Well, we haven't done that. No, we haven't done that.
Though.
But you know what? I actually traveled around the country and looked at other programs that they do in other states, and they do it in Nashville. They have a program where really they do lead into the world of barber colleges and beauty colleges, and they actually have one in the high school. So all I mean is that there's many different choices, and my goal for West Contra Costa is that we be the leader in showing that lots of choices can coexist. We're a big community. We have 6 different high schools. We have additional programs besides those. We can make room for everybody.
It's funny how aligned we are on that. I've always been, and I am born and raised here in Richmond. I went to public schools here in West County, and when I went to Richmond High, it was a magnet school back in the day, and it was a magnet school for music and arts. Right. So our band was renowned across the state, and we won competitions, and myself won several musicianship awards. But we drew those kids in. One of the things that as now a teacher in my 5th year here, one of the things that does frustrate me is that you're absolutely right. Wall to wall doesn't necessarily work for every school, but neither does, and I'm kind of pushing a little bit, but that's okay. In my opinion, neither does attendance or geographically based attendance.
Well, then there's that. That's right.
You know, I feel strongly, if I were to draw my own utopia, that we would do a really good job of assessing our kids at the junior high school level, finding out what they're into. And for example, if a kid was really into hospitality and knew that they wanted to do something in the hospitality field, didn't matter whether their kid's address was in El Cerrito or Hercules. That kid would go to Hercules High School. Right. Because that way they would be able to funnel that academy with the best possible group of students.
You know, one of the ways to do that is for us to make it possible for our kids to attend virtually.
Ooh.
I like that.
That's a big idea.
So I've thought about that for a long time, because the truth is the student who's at El Cerrito has been in that community for a long time,
Mhm.
because we believe in neighborhood schools, and we worked hard to rebuild all of our schools so everybody could keep their neighborhood connections. And that's a real value that we have in the district. But that doesn't mean, and we also have put in Wi-Fi, and we've put in all these connections because we've rebuilt the schools. So I'm looking for a way so that if you were in El Cerrito, you could attend the culinary classes, or if you were in, or any number, you could mix and match your classes. That there
Mhm.
has to be a way for us to do that. I mean, people do that online with the MOOCs all the time, right? Where the big,
Mhm.
those big programs. We should be able to do that.
Almost like you know, in UC Berkeley extension for high
Right.
school. Yeah, I like
Right.
that idea. Well, it's been so great to talk to you guys. Thank you so much. That'll be it for us today on DA Weekly. Join us next week where we're going to talk about Common Core and grading. All right. Cool.
Good.
Not
Common
bad.
Core. Who's going to star in Common Core
I
and
don't know.
grading? That'll be an exciting one.
I
I
don't
gotta
know.
come and watch that.
I just came up with that off the top of my
I was
head.
hoping you were going to give us a